Hello, my friends. Welcome back to another episode of Non-Toxic Environment Show. I am your host, Andy Pace. This week we have Kelly Macmillan, the Director of Sales from Benefect and Fiberlec, coming onto the show to talk to us about mold remediation, bacterial cleanup, job site cleanup, a whole host of topics relating to the materials that she and her company promote. Now, you know me, if you've known me for many years, you know that I'm not entirely a huge fan of manufacturers that tout some small bit of natural ingredient in their overall composition of their product to tout how green it is, how eco-friendly it is. Well, this is different. The Benefect product, their disinfectant was actually created based upon an old recipe of using thyme oil as a natural disinfectant, and it works. It's been tested, third-party testing galore to show how effective it is. It's literally a hospital-grade disinfectant and antibacterial agent. And so after a few years of going back and forth with this product myself, I decided it was time to bring it in and work with it. And I thought it'd be great for all of you to listen to Kelly and what she has to say, and hopefully you will also be convinced that this is the best way to go for the cleanup of mold, bacteria, fire damage, water damage. She talks about how busy they are, obviously, right now because of the two hurricanes that just hit the U.S. in the last month. And so, without any further ado, here's Kelly. Hello, Kelly. Thank you so much for joining us today.
No, thank you, Andy, for having me. I'm excited to get this time with you.
I am too, but I will say this. I have to start off today's show in a way that I've never started off a show before, which is an enormous apology, not to you personally, but I think to your company. Now, it sounds horrible, but you have to look at my history a little bit. I've been working with people with chemical sensitivities for over 31 years now. And, I get paid for becoming that person who looks out for my customer to make sure that, what they are finding is safe for them. It's not going to be, be triggering. And also, a lot of my writings, a lot of my podcast episodes over the years were done to specifically debunk all the greenwashing that's out there. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know a lot about Benefect. And so all I heard was some anecdotal information about it. And I'm like, no, this doesn't sound possible. I cannot think that this is going to work. And people would ask me, what do you think about this product? I'll say, I don't know enough about it, but it just sounds too good to be true. So while I never said anything bad about your company, I never said anything good about it either, because I just didn't know. And I'll be the first to admit in front of everybody here today that I was wrong. I've done enough research on it now that I am extremely, extremely impressed with it. And so thank you for the education through your website and all your publications. It was very eye-opening.
Well, that's great. Glad to hear that. No apology necessary. But yeah, we tried to put information on the website that would help people get to the place you're at, realizing that there's something different and authentic about what we say and do, for sure, at Benefect. But, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I wanted to get that out of the way right away, because I'm sure I'll have listeners saying, wait a second, like 3 years ago, you told me this or that. And no, I just told you what I knew at the time. And like all of us do in our research, is once you may have made a mistake and you found more information that can change your opinion, that's kind of where we're at today.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you could please tell us, because this is one of the things that just blew me away about the company too, is the history of it, how it became the product that it is, and why it was originally developed.
Right. So we have a great video that does a really good job at laying the story out, where you meet the family, you hear their story. So I would definitely encourage people to go to the Benefect site, just watch the Benefect story, and you'll get this. But the shortened version is basically, family had their first son 26 years ago, and he was born with a compromised immunity system, only had 10% of his immunity functioning, essentially. It took a while to really figure out back then what was going on with him. But one of the things in the back of their minds was, okay, well, he's got a compromised immunity. We need to keep our home, all of our environments safe from germs. What do we do? Because the cleaners and disinfectants on the market at the time, also were a burden for this newborn baby, because of the synthetic, toxic, harsh ingredients in them. So while germs were harmful to him, so were some of these toxic products. So they knew they had to do something, or think about something a little bit differently. And as it turned out, the grandma in the story, is an aromacologist and was familiar with the medicinal abilities of essential oil. So they started formulating with essential oils, and after a lot of money, a lot of testing, a lot of trial and error, had something they felt was okay. This has the criteria for safety in it, all plant-based, no harsh ingredients, no risks, but we think it's also going to work. So they took it to a lab, had it tested, and got laughed at a little bit, because the lab owner was like, this isn't possible. What do you mean you've used thyme oil in this? It's not going to work. But hey, I'll take your money. you know?
Of course.
And then, of course, when the call came in that, wait a minute, this is a hospital disinfectant grade kind of product that's going to kill viruses and bacteria, but has no risks if inhaled, ingested, makes contact with skin or eyes. Those are the 4 routes of entry that get tested by both Health Canada and the EPA to determine toxicity. And across the board, there was 0 toxicity for any of those routes of entry. So confirmation from a government agency that this is going to be safe, for our child, for the family overall, but also confirmation that it killed germs. And by the way, the very first time something like this had ever been done, the EPA and Health Canada are based off of products that kill germs are going to be dangerous, period. That's why we test for toxicity. That's why we have signal words. That's why we have cautionary statements and first aid measures. That's why we have all of that on our product labels. But all of a sudden now they're looking at a product that, wait a minute, there's nothing to say about it except that it kills germs. So yeah.
That's unbelievable.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, you hear people throw around the term toxicity all the time.
Mhm.
And so, you have to define that a little bit more. Is it toxic to a germ, to a fungus? Is it toxic to humans? I mean, obviously 2 completely different sets of criteria here. Um,
Mhm.
the the ingredient of using thyme oil. Now, I've always been, again, working with folks with extreme chemical sensitivities. One of the things I have to caution people on is the overuse of essential oils. Like, I can't tell you how many people who have been trying to get in this space more so as like Instagram influencers, not real experts, but people just trying to make a commission, selling um, essential oil diffusers for their house. And
Right.
that's a completely different thing. That is, I have known with that, 15 minutes of that a day is your complete load for the body, right? And after that, it can be very, very dangerous. So
Mhm.
how does your product differ from that?
Yeah. So a couple of things, disinfectant, is for surface, right?
Mm,
It's for surface treatment of something that has happened, whether it's mold, whether it's sewage, whether it's whatever it might be. It's to treat and disinfect a surface. It's not for normal, like vaping or diffusing, like you're talking about, right? Where you would be using it for almost personal consumption, right? It's
Hmm.
governed by, again, the EPA, in that it is for surfaces, not for human consumption. So I think that's different, but also, it's the amounts of these ingredients we're using. It's the combination of them together, and it's a formula that's been tested, and shown to have no toxicity risk whatsoever.
Okay.
And now used in the industry, in our industry that I work in, insurance restoration, for over 20 years,
Mm.
to decontaminate surfaces that have been badly damaged, or have had a pathogen impact to them from
Hmm.
storms and stuff like that. But so yeah, it's a little bit different. I'll say a lot of essential oils in 100% concentration have certain risks. You shouldn't
Yeah.
use certain essential oils on your skin, because in 100% concentration, it's a different profile than like our Decon 30 product, which is our flagship product, has 0.05%, not 5%, 0.05%
Wow.
thyme oil in it. So you're
Right.
talking about a whole different world when you're looking at 0.05% to 100% concentration. So yeah.
Sure, sure. Okay. So on that then, um, what is typically used by, so you go to a hardware store, you want to pick up a gallon of disinfectant. I mean, obviously the normal things for a lot of people is bleach, which we're obviously trying to get away from. But
Mhm.
there are other commercially available disinfectants that use a whole host of chemicals that I cannot pronounce. But what is the typical, and then how does that differ from the thyme oil?
Mhm. So yeah, you're right. There's a lot of different, what we call active ingredients, and the active ingredient is that part that does the bulk of the killing in a formula, and that's the ingredient that gets identified on a product label. So you'll see, 0.23% of whatever active ingredient. That's what gets shown. All of the inert ingredients aren't shown necessarily. So there can be different things in those as well that cause risk, but there's certainly a lot of active ingredients out there, of course. I'd say really the difference is their ability to kill, the toxicity level, how long it takes them, contact time that's
Contact
required
time.
on the surface,
Sure.
how they're applied, can they be sprayed, foamed, fogged? Like, there's lots of different things. So those are going to be the differences. But most disinfectants on the marketplace that are hospital disinfectants, not meaning they're just for hospital, but meet that efficacy requirement to be a hospital disinfectant. Most products at that level are going to kill the very same way. There's not going to be much different between them. So then the difference becomes toxicity, environments where they can use, is PPE required. Those are going to be the differences. So with our products, we use, we grow the plant thyme, we steam distill to extract the oils, and we blend with other essential oils. There's no PPE required when using the product. Again, no risks if inhaled, ingested, makes contact with skin or eyes, any of that. And that's a pretty unique kind of profile in the world of disinfectants.
That's very unique. Matter of fact, as somebody who just spent several days in the hospital because of a surgery,
Um,
um, I can tell you that that traditional hospital smell,
yeah.
right? And so that makes me think of, why doesn't it not smell like a beautiful bouquet of thyme oil in this hospital? It smells like this clinical junk, whatever they use this combination of. So is that really the biggest difference here? We're talking about toxicity to humans, is the fact that with your product, not only is it safe to use and be around, but it doesn't have any lingering effects. But the commercially available junk that they typically use, it can linger and build up. Is that correct?
Mhm. So all disinfectants work to kill what's there in the moment, not to provide disinfectants, EPA registered disinfectants, not to provide any residual kill claim.
Mm.
So there's no such thing in the world of disinfectants, residual ability to kill. So when people were using disinfectants during COVID and said, okay, treated your surface, you're good for 2 weeks. No, that's not correct. There are sealants, there are other types of products that maybe have some degree of protection for some amount of time on some germs, but this general overarching idea that spray it once, you're good for a while, when it comes to disinfectants, that just doesn't exist.
Okay. So the lingering odors from those more chemically based products are mainly just because they were probably just applied recently.
Applied recently, applied too much, they could have a really high VOC content. We
Okay.
often get our volatile organic compounds come from fragrances that get put in products.
Okay.
So it just could have a lingering effect in the environment, right? I'll
Okay.
say our Benefect products do have an odor
Mhm.
that are naturally occurring fragrances that come from the essential oils we use. And there's low to no, as low as you can count, low to no VOCs in them completely.
Fabulous.
But there is a sense. So sometimes it's a funny thing with fragrances. We identify fragrances with definitely having VOCs. It's not always the case, like
Mhm.
with us. So, but yeah, it could just be in some of those instances, too much product was used, or it's got a higher amount of fragrance in it, or something like that. So,
Well, and of course, it's also the fact that it's layer upon layer upon layer, meaning, they disinfect in surfaces, they're washing their hands, they're using equipment that have been disinfected. I mean, it's like everything adds to that chemical soup within the hospital room.
right, right, exactly.
So I want to talk a bit about obviously your products specifically and some of the differences between them. But you mentioned something just before that I have to come back to, mold and water damage situations. As we talked a little bit off air before starting, you are in the thick of it right now. I mean, we're just getting through or not even getting through. We're in the cusp of these two hurricanes that just hit the country, and some people are at least even at the point where they can start to do cleanup. Many people are even not at that point yet. But for those who are at that point, um, what is it looking like for Benefect right now, and what you're providing, and how you're helping folks?
Mhm. So this is our primary industry where our Benefect products are positioned with insurance restoration contractors. So guys that go in these storm environments, or will then do the mold work, or we do fire damage restoration, trauma scene cleanup, lots of different things that kind of fall under the umbrella of insurance restoration. So it's actually been a crazy summer altogether, crazy since about June, July, because Canada, which we also support, had numerous major water damages over the summer. Hurricane Debbie, that didn't do anything really coming up through the US, dumped
Hmm.
a lot of water in Montreal. And
Oh,
before that, Hurricane Beryl dumped some water in Toronto.
sure.
So we've been on this this run of Beryl, Debbie, Helene, and Milton, and it's
Mm,
been crazy. So we are in high season right now for our products, and there's lots of product being utilized all over in these environments. How things get evaluated when it comes to water damage like this, or how we encourage contractors and homeowners to evaluate it, is in a system of clean, kill, coat. So when it comes to the chemicals or solutions you're using, and that part of the job, understanding that before that there's extraction of water, there's drying. Actually, I think you did a session with Santa Fe not too long ago,
yep.
and some of their dehumidifiers are used in these environments. There's a lot of other stuff that happens, but when it comes to the chemical or the solution, the product you're doing, we encourage the evaluation in three categories: clean, kill, and coat.
Okay.
Cleaning is the most important, to be honest with you. The more you clean, the more residue you get rid of, the more is removed, the better and easier the next steps become. And sometimes not even necessary, depending on the job and situation. But basically, the cleaning happens first. Then the kill, that's where our disinfectants come into play. And homes and offices and schools and big facilities we'll have our products sprayed in it on the surfaces to kill any remaining pathogens that might be there from the cleaning process. Pathogens like viruses, bacteria. Product also does kill mold. So sometimes if there's been a little bit of mold growth, it's enough to get it at that first pass. So that's what's going to happen with our products, and that's where they're being used, and that's all over, certainly North Carolina. Very sad situation there in Nashville and surrounding areas, but we have two of our team members there right now, actually doing what
Mm.
they can to help contractors and help businesses that maybe don't understand what needs to be done in these situations. So we're there to answer questions and provide education on it. I have a fellow in Georgia right now because some areas in Georgia were impacted. And I also have two guys in Florida, all doing the same thing, just being a resource for, again, homeowners, companies, contractors, or distributors, whatever it might be. But yeah, that's how we fit in. And that's why our lives are a little crazy right now.
Right. Now, I'm curious to know, how do the contractors respond to this product? Because, I think a lot of us have this memory of, the contractor saying, well, if it doesn't have a smell to it, it's not going to work.
Right.
If it smells pleasant, it's not going to do the hard work that it needs to do. So how have they responded to it? And were there a lot of like opened eyes over the
Mm.
last few years?
It took a long time, right? Like, it's been 25 years, I think, that we've been working, and first in Canada. The products were founded in Canada, but then 20 years or so ago in the US. And the very first response was, well, if it's green, does it work? It can't
Mm,
work if it's green. Right back 20 years ago.
yeah.
We have a different understanding now that there's a lot of really high performance green products on the marketplace. But 20 years ago, we weren't so sure. So, but what we could always answer it with is, we're EPA registered. That's the validation. Like, there's no questions, because you don't get an EPA number, you don't get that efficacy listed on your product label unless you go through a process that's the exact same as every other product on the marketplace. So if product A says it kills, staphylococcus, and product B says it does, and product C, being us, does, we all had to pass the same testing. We all had to go through the same process. There's no different. So we were able to tackle that a bit with, look at, we're EPA registered. And that really is, in our industry in particular of insurance restoration, so important. Like, our contractors would not be using a product that is not EPA registered right now. They wouldn't take that liability risk, because without that, you have no backup. You have no assurance that what you're using will do what the label says it will do. So I would say that was a really big struggle 20 years ago, and that was how we battled it. And but now, yeah, now it's not quite the same. Our biggest challenge is there are other products out there that use really good ingredients that are synthetic, but better than old school synthetic.
Hmm.
Not botanical. They're not sustainable like our products. They don't utilize renewable resources. They are petroleum based.
Hmm.
So still don't have the benefits, but they're better than some of the old school. And that's great. I would say our
Hmm.
technologies have come a really, really long way, that
Sure.
we have better synthetic products out there than we used to 20 years ago, but none that are actually botanical like ours. So,
Sure.
yeah.
And I'm sure that the folks who are actually doing the work are probably loving the fact that they don't have to constantly be completely wrapping themselves in PPE.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Additional, what we always caution is, you're going into dangerous environments.
Sure.
Protect yourself from the environment. If you're going to do a mold job, yeah, you need to have your
Of
PPE
course.
on. You don't need anything additional though when you're using our products. So that's the benefit. And there's a lot of products out there that would require full respiratory, a
Hmm.
lot of other PPE. So it's definitely a savings not to have to worry about that.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So I want to get a little bit into the products themselves, and I know you have a wide array of materials, both the Benefect products, the FiberLock products.
Mm.
But I think at first I want to talk about, you had mentioned your flagship product, the Decon 30, and then there's also the just the Benefect disinfectant. And
Mhm.
so tell us a little bit about both of those, how they compare. Can you use both for the same thing, or are there areas where you should use one or the other?
Yeah, so there's definite overlap between them for sure. So our Benefect botanical disinfectant, or what we affectionately coin Benefect Original,
Mhm.
so the original formula, that's our first formula, and it kills viruses, bacteria, mold, and tuberculosis. Just a broad, broad area,
Yeah.
broad summary. What that allows it to do is really cover anything in insurance restoration, be it water, mold, sewage underneath water, and traumacine. So traumacine is biohazard type work, and you need a tuberculocidal to do that kind of work.
Okay.
So it kind of covers all of that. Decon 30 was our, I don't know, what year are we now? I don't know. It's been at least 12 years, I think, since we've had Decon 30 out. And it also kills viruses, bacteria, and mold. But we formulated it with less of the active ingredients, so it has less thyme oil in it, which gave it a lighter scent, and that scent also will dissipate faster. The fragrance or the amount of thyme oil in the Benefect Original is stronger. Again, there's no VOCs in that, there's no inhalation risk or anything, but some people just prefer a lighter scent that will dissipate faster.
Okay.
But what Decon also has that the original formula doesn't is it was formulated with a biosurfactant package that allows it to be a cleaner disinfectant. Also allows it to work faster. So Decon 30 can kill bacteria in 30 seconds. It kills COVID in 1 minute. It's a cleaner disinfectant. So if you have lightly soiled surfaces, you can use it for cleaning. It also is an EPA registered carpet sanitizer. So it shows you that it works amazingly well on hard surfaces, but also gives you this functionality of working just as well in a carpet or on more porous surfaces. So it's a little more high functioning for your average water damage situation like these storms. And that's the product. Both can be used in the storm, but Decon 30, again, with the lighter scent, the ability to penetrate into porous surfaces better, is just often the preferred product in these situations.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then your atomic cleaner degreaser, how does that fit in?
Yeah, so it's that pre-step. I talked about clean, kill, coat, and we haven't got coat yet because that's really the fiber lock side of it, but that would be the pre-clean. So atomic is an amazing heavy duty degreaser for oily, greasy surfaces, commonly used in these storm situations, sewage, fire, traumacine, again, those anywhere where there's oily, greasy debris. Now, atomic doesn't use essential oils in it, but it does have a botanical surfactant package in it, rather than using solvents. And in the world of degreasers, it's the solvents that have the toxicity risk. So, you know, it has the same safety profile of the disinfectants, where there's no risks if inhaled, ingested, makes contact with skin or eyes, but it has no scent to it because it has no essential oils in it.
Oh, got it. Okay.
And it's a concentrate, so that gets diluted. It can be sprayed, foamed, mopped, anything like that to the surfaces to remove the debris. So, yeah.
And then I guess finally in this, I know you have other products, but finally for this portion of it, you also have the ready to use wipes.
Yeah, so they're based on the Decon 30 formula.
Okay.
And what a great product. I mean, once you start using our wipes in your kitchen, in your home, you're not going to know how you ever cleaned before because
Right.
they're so functional. Yeah.
I absolutely love them. I mean, when we first brought in some inventory here, that's the very first thing I opened up, and I'm like, these replace everything that people use.
Yeah.
And I mean, yes, light, pleasant scent, but get rid of the Clorox wipes, get rid of all those things, and just use this on all your surfaces. Now, if somebody were to use this on a regular basis to clean surfaces, just to keep, you know, obviously we're all in this, you know, through COVID now, but we still have that mentality of we got to keep things clean.
Yeah.
How long should they expect that essential oil aroma to last?
It won't last long, actually. And
Okay.
again, as a disinfectant wipe, it's just killing what's there in the moment. So, but yeah, it doesn't linger very long.
Right.
But what I'll say about our wipes is, and what's different from some of the other products on the marketplace, is it's a very wet substrate. If you grab one from home and squeeze it, you'll have a pool of solution in your hand, right?
Yep.
So it one substrate, one wipe gives you really good coverage, and it keeps that surface wet for longer so that it can kill the germs. Now, again, Decon 30 kills bacteria for the most part in 30 seconds, especially things like, you know, the things you're worried about with chicken and stuff like that. If you've just made some chicken on your countertop or whatever, or
Right.
in your cutting board, great to treat it
Yeah.
afterwards with the wipes
Mm.
or Decon 30. But it's going to kill fast, but also the wipes let the surface stay wet so you can actually get the necessary contact time, which it's not true of most other products, most of the wipes on the marketplace. So yeah, and do that
Boy,
test
you
yourself.
just brought up that I never even thought of wiping down countertops and wiping down cutting boards and
Mm.
just so many different uses for these products.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
And
that's wonderful.
a little tip about our wipes, if you grab a couple and put some water in it, it'll
Uh-huh.
soap up because it's a cleaner disinfectant. So you
Okay.
can literally clean and disinfect in one foul swoop. I use it on my granite and quartz. I use it on my island floors if there's a spill. So it's not harmful to any surfaces. Like there's no risk, there's no tuck, what's the word I'm looking for? It won't cause damage to any surface. So yeah,
Right, right.
yeah.
And it won't harm your skin.
I won't harm your skin. Exactly. Yeah. So
Oh, that's fabulous.
wins.
Yeah, I'm just thinking right now of all the different ways that we could bring that product to our marketplace because I mean it's for so many things and it's so useful, so beneficial.
Mhm.
All right. I want to spend a little bit of time then talking about the last step of your process, the sealing, the coating, and that's why you have the fiberlock products.
Right. Yeah. So, um, Fiberlock's roots were 35, 40 years ago when the world started to become aware of asbestos and lead and the dangers of those. That's where Fiberlock started, and where we approach on the benefit side safety from the aspect of our formulations and what we put in them. Fiberlock approached safety from the aspect of this is a very dangerous environment that's going to hurt people. Let's get it ready for people to live in it safely, right? So we share a safety profile, even though our formulations are done differently, and it's so critical with lead and asbestos to know that you're dealing with it. And Fiberlock, really have been doing this, like I said, from the get-go, 35, 40 years, and are the premium brand when it comes to abatement contractors, using these kinds of products. It developed out from that to include mold coatings. So we have mold resistant coatings, and that's where this clean coat system comes into play with the storm cleanup happening. So people will clean with Atomic, kill with Decon 30, and then coat, where necessary, with a Fiberlock product called IAQ 6000, which is a mold resistant coating.
Okay.
So that now gets rid of the issue, make sure the pathogens are killed, and prevents or puts into place a system that mold won't grow back on
Okay.
for, we have 10-year guarantees on the product. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So does the IAQ 6000 have mildicides in the material itself, or is it just like such a slick surface that mold spores can't attach?
So there is an active ingredient in there, and we actually put a sustainable active ingredient in
Oh,
that product as well. So it's nice when you pair it with Atomic, Decon 30, and 6000. They all have a sustainability profile to talk about, so it's
nice.
good. So yeah, there's an active ingredient, but it's not EPA registered. However, we have a product called Aftershock that is an EPA registered fungicidal coating.
Okay.
So it'll do the same thing as IAQ 6000 in being mold resistant, but when it first gets painted on and put on while it's wet, it's actually a fungicide as well. So it's going to kill any leftover mold spores that maybe the disinfectant step didn't get to. So
Okay.
good double check, a good insurance policy. We sometimes talk about in our world of restoration where you maybe have temporary workers or new workers, especially down in these environments where there's a lot of
Sure.
staff that are needing to be used. It's a great idea to use Aftershock because if the cleaning and spraying didn't go maybe as perfectly as you would want to see it, now you've got that insurance policy that's okay. We're going to hit it again with the fungicide, and now we're going to do the mold resistant coating all in one with the Aftershock. So yeah.
Right, or if there's amount of time because of the fact that you can't get the right trades in there, and there's gonna be a little bit
Yeah.
more time than you want between those 2, that's where the aftershock would be beneficial.
Right. Yeah. So what I love about Benefect and Fiberlock together is, especially in these clean coat systems, is there's not a question we can't answer. There's not a situation we can't provide a pathway of solution to, whether the need is safety, whether it's ease of use, whether it's cost, whatever it might be. We can present a pathway to get that job done to meet the needs of the contractor or the job site or whatever it might be. So
Okay.
yeah. Yeah.
All right. So the last topic I want to talk about today is I do a lot of work with people who are building new homes.
Hmm.
And so I act as their design consultant and helping them choose materials to make their home as healthy as possible for them. So I do a lot of work with families that have somebody in the household is suffering from chronic inflammatory response,
Yeah.
mast cell activation, kids with PANS or PANDAS, the folks with chemical sensitivities. And so this has been my life for the last 30 plus years.
Mhm.
And we've done a lot in the process of designing and building, but then it comes down to how does that home get cleaned up after construction prior to moving in? And I think I really see your products coming into play here
Mhm.
because, it's been our protocol to do not just job site cleanup, but like microparticle cleanup, like
Mm.
wiping down all of the surfaces, and then even doing a fogging of the air, fogging through the HVAC. So, how would your products fit in there?
Yeah, I mean, that's a very common use of our products in new build, new construction environments, especially in new big construction where maybe roofs aren't on and exposure to the elements is happening, and now we're getting mold growth. So we can often find midpoint during a construction
Mm,
job or on a site that a whole clean kill coat process is being applied. And it's really where sometimes the coatings can be so helpful because if they get through the job, we've done the clean kill coat process, and then it rains again or something else happens, at least you've got that mold resistant coating now in place on some of those surfaces to help prevent the need to start over again. I mean, you would still want to clean and maybe disinfect, but your assurance is that you won't have mold growing on those surfaces. So it
okay.
very much fits in. We have products specifically for HVAC as well. On the
Mhm.
Fiberlock side, we have a product called IAQ 8000. It's not very creative. Sometimes I think our names are 6,000, 8,000.
Yeah, right.
um, but it's a coating for inside HVAC.
Okay.
And it's a mold resistant coating as
Okay.
well. So we have solutions for that.
Okay.
But really, what we do with whether it's the contractors or homeowners, we get lots and lots of calls from homeowners. We try and understand what is the problem, what is the need, and then again, we can give a really good solution, a pathway to help remediate that situation and get it fixed, whether
So
again it's water, fire, asbestos, lead, whatever it might be. So yeah.
So tell me what you think of this because I've now incorporated this on a few projects and clients were very, very happy, but I would love to hear from the expert that I recommended the correct products. So new home construction, it's all ready to go. We're using the decon wipes or the Benefect wipes, decon wipes for
Mhm.
all the walls, ceilings, all the floors.
Yeah.
Basically, it's been a wipe down of the entire house.
Wow.
But prior to that, we did fogging of
Mm.
every room using the Benefect original.
Okay.
So
Yep.
what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that's fine. What I'll tell you about fogging is you can't guarantee a kill necessarily with fogging,
Yeah,
because you're losing a lot of product to it's evaporating before it
right.
hits the surface, or it doesn't get the right contact time on the surface.
Yeah,
So completely fine to do that, and it's absolutely going to have an effect, but
sure.
we can't guarantee it the same way as when you're spraying on a surface, right? I would say for fogging, I'd probably recommend Decon 30 a little bit more because it's
Oh,
gonna
okay.
has a shorter contact time than Benefect
Okay,
Original. Benefect Original is 10 minutes to pretty much do anything.
got it.
That you want to keep that surface wet. But Decon 30, at 30 seconds, you're getting bacteria. At 1 minute, you're getting a lot of viruses. And, at 10 minutes, you're getting everything.
Okay,
And then it also does have the lighter scent that will dissipate faster, which
sure.
maybe you want or maybe you don't want, because
Yeah,
some
right.
people love the fragrance of Benefect. But yeah, I mean, that's an absolutely great thing to be doing. We just like to make sure you understand what you can say and claim
Sure.
when it comes to certain applications like fogging. Yeah.
So my thought process there is we do the fogging first, not to necessarily kill anything that's in the air,
Mm.
but attach so that it can fall down.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then when it falls down to the ground or it sticks to a surface, then the wipes would take care of that, right? Um, but we're doing it all with materials that we know are safe, that, we're all working on the same team here. So there's no interaction issues with the products.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I think it's a great process. I think that's, gonna get you where you want to be every time.
Fabulous.
The fogging followed by the wiping. Yeah, I love it. It's awesome.
Excellent.
Mhm.
Well, that's excellent to hear because I've now recommended that on several projects, and we're going to continue to do that because
Good.
I think it's, again, especially for folks, you're spending a lot of money on a new home. I mean, it's the biggest investment you'll ever have in your life.
Right.
And for most of my clients, it's not just an investment of dollars, but I mean, this is, a life or death situation to them because of
Mm.
the extreme health issues they're dealing with. We want to make sure they're going into this as in as good a position as possible.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. No. It sounds like a great process. I love it. Appreciate
Awesome.
that you're using our products for that. So thank you.
You are welcome. So Kelly, boy, I can't believe it's been as long as it has been already. This has been just wonderful to have you on the show. Is there anything else that I missed that you'd like to mention before we're done today?
Um, I don't think so.
Okay.
Maybe just one thing. There's a lot of, like you said earlier, greenwashing
Mm.
in the industry, especially about botanical technologies. One way to validate that a product is actually botanical or how botanical it is through the USDA's BioPreferred program.
Mm.
That's a government mandated program that only products that are at least, I think, 25% bio-based, and that testing is done in third-party labs. So it's not us saying it, it's not the USDA saying it, it's done in labs. Only products that are a minimum of 25%, I think, get into the program. So whatever the materials are that you're using, because they have a large arraignment of materials you can choose from, you can check how bio-based, which, the definition is made of plants, mineral, or other things, but, plant-based essentially for our purposes. You can check there. And if you check there and look for Benefect, you'll find that, Benefect, Decon, and our wipes are all on there at 100% bio-based.
Wow.
So you can be assured. And if you have other products you come across that you're wondering, look and see if they're in the program. First of all, if they're not, I can tell you we're the only ones. And then look and see how bio-based they are, because can assure you they're not 100% bio-based, but we are. So yeah, that's a good validation point for people wondering or needing some kind of backup to know that what they're using is what it says it is, because it's hard to know sometimes right now.
That's excellent advice.
Mhm.
Thank you so much for sharing that, and
Yeah,
thank you so much for sharing your time and talent with us here today. It's been extremely uh, important for our listener base and to have access to this information. And again, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
happy to be here. Thank you for having me, and always available for questions after if there's any. So yeah.
Excellent.